And welcome to week 3 of USS Summer 2026, where we are looking at a Durham derby to get us started here on USS 2. I'm joined by Crab. How are you doing, Crab?
Hello, doing good. I'm sure as many of us have had very busy weekend. Unrelated to Overwatch, but lovely result last night. I'm sure everyone's had a good line, good recovery, and they're ready for what is much more important, of course, which is University Overwatch.
Yeah, I hope everyone's well rested and ready to have some Overwatch coming your way to end off your weekend. We're going to look at the rosters first for both of these Durham teams to start off with, and then I believe we also have our map pick ready, so we'll see that soon. We've got for the defenders, Lorelei, Abik, Jalen, Mickey, and Blink, and over in the Thunderdome, we've got Ateal, Dinger, Omnom, Frostbite, and Soapy Noodles. So should be two good teams heading off against each other on a real rivalry that we're looking at today that potentially could ball over in some areas when you look at two teams from the same university going up against each other.
Yeah, it's not every day you get to see a derby between the same university. Rarely you see the two teams come across together, but the differences here as a university, you kind of understand how your other teammates may play, what they like to play, what they're going to run. You're going to see a real issue with target bans, but I think that should make this game more competitive and more interesting due to the kind of information that both teams, I'm assuming, already have on each other.
Absolutely. Well, speaking of information, we have information of where we are going as our first map of the day. We'll see that in just a second, as it is going to be Hybrid starting us off this week as our first of the series. And it is going to be Eichenwald that we do head to start off with. Defenders pick, so they are the first seed, and we'll see where the bans have ended up in just a second as well. And this could really pay dividends and tell us what we will be seeing for the rest of this series, as these two teams obviously know each other so well. Kiriko banned out by the defenders, so that should really shake up things. And Tracer not being able to be played after being banned by the Thunderdome, losing a little bit of ground to Shion in some circumstances, but still a good ban no matter what, to be able to take away the annoying backline presence that is usually a Tracer.
Yeah, well, especially now Kiriko's out of the mixture, Tracer's always going to be a valuable pick. She's that one character that regardless of the map you end up on, she seems to get a ton of value, be able to do whatever she really wants. So that ban makes sense, especially with such a strong DPS line. Of course, there's a few names you might recognize there. Definitely a Beak, one of our Overwatch World Cup UK candidates, has taken a journey away from the flex support and has decided to give DPS a try this split. But you can see probably why you might lean towards DPS bans when there's such a big name you're playing against.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is something that you see consistently in these sort of summer tournaments, that players like Abik and like several others maybe just want to have some fun, try out some new roles, see what sticks, and then if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. It's only a summer tournament. You've not really lost all that much, although we do obviously love some competition here at USS, and that is definitely going to be brought on by the fact that these two teams are hailing from Durham. So I really am questioning where we're going to see these supports go to, because Kiriko's been standard since the 2 was added, and the 2's not there anymore. So it's going to be interesting to see where these teams go to. Looks like a Juno Brig for the defenders, starting off on their namesake of the defensive side, and it's going to be a Baptiste Mitsuki from the Thunderdome.
Yeah, interesting pick. Of course, we've been seeing that a bit more. We saw it quite a bit in the Korean OWCS this weekend. Yeah, I think the Mizuki here can be a really strong pick, especially into this Winston. That chain just gets so much value. It has so much shutdown potential. I think this could work really well for Thunderdome.
Well, here we go. The Durham Derby ready to kick off, and just a little bit of chip damage over the top from a Beak on that Echo. It's going to be difficult to get through this first choke point for the Thunderdome, but they are going to be looking to bring the Thunder to the defenders. Again, just more poke from a beacon. Lorelei able to take down the opposing number of ATL, just making sure that the Sojourn can't escape the sights. Then it's just going to be a bit of poke before a bit of a soft engage by Omnom. Going to be helped out with that immortality field and just about able to get away, but you've got to be careful going into this choke point that you don't give up too much damage.
Yeah, this is going to be a really hard choke point to walk through. That Orisa can kind of lose a lot of... Well, no. The Winston even. Sorry, I'm looking at the wrong side. Who's attacking? The name defenders is throwing me off.
The defenders are defending.
The defenders are defending. This is what throws me off. Yeah, well, the problem is that the Winston can just collapse the moment the Orisa starts to walk through. So it's going to be quite slow, quite painful. But once they break through, Thunderdome should be able to take a lot of space.
And they might be able to use an amplification matrix to break through, although losing out on the Mitsuki is not going to help them. Lorelei is going to be taken down for her troubles, and Abik tries to even things up with a Sojourn of his own, but not able to get there. Dinger as well, able to take down Abik from the skies with the motorbike, and it's a slow decimation of the defenders. One by one, they fall in their defensive standing, and it's only Mickey and Lorelei that end up being back here to tell the tale. It looks like the Thunderdome will be taking this first objective after a little bit of resistance from the defenders.
Yeah, of course. It's all hinging on that Winston Echo kind of collapse. But all we really saw was picks from the Sojourn. And of course, that can't defend a point by itself. And Thunderdome were able to just walk over them.
A very quick lamp force there for Frostbite, but taking out Mickey, the only one not to fall in that last engagement, is going to be a really good start here for the Thunderdome as they look to snowball here on the second objective. Blink's going to bash away Omnom, make sure that Orisa can't scale too far. And here comes the overclock for Lorelei. Has to find some targets, but it's not a rich environment at the moment. The lamp comes back just in time to save Frostbite as well, who's almost built up to another amplification matrix. Primal Force onto Jalen, but it's going to mean that no one else does fall down. Lorelei caught in the backline, but it is going to be the Thunderdome being forced back by the rest of the team, although they do have all 5 check marks in the top right of the screen.
Yeah, that OC didn't find a ton. You didn't see the kill feed being lit up, but it bought so much space it meant that the moment anyone turned around, the defenders could just collapse on them.
Jalen has to be careful here, though, on the Winston, going down low early, able to get back to the rest of the team. Dinger's already found a beak with that execution. The rest of the team going down a little bit low, but it's another good immortality field by Frostbite, and now playing in this sanctuary, they're safe for the time being. Does expire, but so does Mickey, taken down by Dinger once again. Able to find these picks at crucial timings has been this Shion, as we've seen so consistently in all levels of play. Abik, though, able to take him down with a focusing beam, but Frostbite's able to take down Jalen. Abik is left as the only tank on the field for the defenders, and that's quickly dealt with. 6 HP and chased down underneath the bridge, making sure that there was nowhere for that Echo to go. Now you can see that Blink is caught in the back line. A little bit of damage there from the torpedoes, but it's not going to be enough to dispel the attacking threat of the Thunderdome, who still have 2 ults left on the table. Here comes that amplification matrix, trying to make sure that this raid doesn't get too much done here. Good lamp once again to make sure that the dive initially from Jalen isn't going to be able to expire people. Dinger, though, has to be careful, goes off the map thanks to Blink. Did get the kill onto Blink beforehand, though, and it looks like there's not going to be enough of the defenders to be able to get back to the objective. It is going to be a second point take for the Thunder.
Yeah, that kind of slow, long, drawn-out fight, this Orisa comp is always going to prevail. I don't know about you, I always thought the jump perk was the default pick on Baptiste, but the healing turret just did so much healing through the window there. It really did a great job at keeping the Orisa comp alive.
Yeah, I think it is default to take the movement, but that healing turret can obviously change the game in ways that just make sure that your team stays alive just for a little bit longer. Omnom now forcing the pressure, but it is the lamp that gets forced once again by Frostbite. Obviously, proccing that turret as well. Lorelei goes down low to a right click from the other team's Sojourn. Omnom trying to do some damage here with the Terror Surge, able to find a beak, but immediately taken down by Jalen. Rest of the team now collapsing as well off the back of the rally from Blink, and it's Lorelei that finds the final few kills in this engagement. Mickey finishing it off, and Atil just deciding that it's better to group up with the rest of the team in the spawn doors.
Yeah, what's exciting here is we're seeing some ults come up. Some of the ults have been different uses than you would standardly see, but we've got a primal, we've got a copy. It should be really hard to lock down and kill one of the defenders players here because half their team just have that second life.
They do have the amplification matrix coming up though, and it is going to be a force of the copy early for a beak, but they do get a kill off the back of it. Soapy Noodles falling, and the rest of the DPS line as well goes down in quick succession to Jalen. Being able to spear the copy that was taken off the map as well, and Frostbite once again goes into the void. But you can see how much Frostbite is doing by how quickly these amp matrix are charging.
Yeah, these amps are so fast, and the window can just be thrown out, and you can get so much value on all of their characters. Everyone they're playing can use that window. But you really enjoy winning that fight with just a copy.
Dinger going away from the Shion here, deciding to opt for the Reaper, but Jalen's found Soapy Noodles once again, and that's before the Sanctuary can come out here. Omnom's able to trade it onto Blink, so no main supports for either team, but Atil has to get back away from Jalen now. Omnom's doing the damage without the tank there. You've got to be careful of your backline as well, Jalen. You managed to force the Primal, so there's a lot of pressure here onto the backline of the Thunderdome, but Omnom's just going to keep walking forwards. Eventually has to get back to get some healing, and that's going to allow Jalen to get away, but really, you wanted to do a lot more there than just force the life. The Sanctuary is invested, but it doesn't really do much here. The amplification matrix though is going to mean that Jalen does go down. Mickey's going to be able to take out that immortality field, but Dinger taking down the targets, and Soapy, now that there's not as much pressure from the Winston, able to do the damage needed. Dire Triggers takes out Blink, and now Jalen once again just in the Thunderdome, from the Thunderdome, forcing them back into their own spawn. And now someone's got a touch into this Terror Surge for Omnom. A Terror Surge that's going to be mirrored up with a Death Blossom as well as they look to exit the spawn. It's so much damage. Mickey doesn't stay alive much longer, falls to the Terror Surge. Blink has come out on the Lucio but doesn't survive for long. They're stalling here as long as they possibly can. A Beak's trying to get forwards with the copy, but it's not going to be enough. Round one complete, 22 seconds still left on the clock for the Thunderdome. And the defense of the defenders is broken in the end on Eichenwald.
Yeah, I mean, I was very confused where that was going. I heard a Sanctuary go off. I couldn't see it. And they win the fight from it. So clearly, I just need to get better at this game. Clearly, I'm missing something. But yeah, that Thunderdome comp, I think, is really strong. It really works well into what the defenders are playing. The moment a fight gets slightly overdrawn, their comp just has so much more sustain and consistency that they just outplay the burst damage you're kind of waiting for.
13,000, almost 14,000 in a half, 14 and 16 on that Baptiste. And really, that's the make or break here at the moment for the Thunderdome, is that Jalen's able to get some pressure onto the Baptiste, but the lamp being forced early really doesn't do too much for the rest of the team. They're still able to stay alive through it. Omnom's being kept alive really, really well by Frostbite on that Baptiste, and you're seeing a slight difference in the Durham defenders comp, which might be able to get a more aggression on the attacking side, but you look at that Orisa as a stalwart here, it's going to be difficult to get through that first choke point.
Yeah, you're going to want to hope the Wu Yang can kind of poke out some of these supports that just aren't taking enough damage to really make them uncomfortable and force some of your resources elsewhere. I wonder if we'll see the same perk choice from the Baptiste, because I feel like that did so much when you wouldn't necessarily... Oh, people are dead.
Yeah, but so is the Orisa. The Orisa falling early, yes, you've taken down the Juno, but you've got the spawn right there for the defenders, and this could be a click take if they don't do much to navigate the waters here. The Thunderdome, they've been able to take down a Beak off of a beautiful chain by Noodles, and ATL stepping up, taking down Lorelei. Now Jalen in the backline, but finds the Orisa on her way back from spawn and just has to get out of there. What looked like it was going to be dangerous for the Thunderdome's defense really was not capitalized upon by the defenders.
Yeah, that is the biggest pick there that defenders could have possibly got, but they just got nothing out of it.
Difficult situation there. You would have wanted a little bit more potentially. A Beak now trying to get a little bit more aggressive again on this Reaper, but you can see that fortification there for Omnom as Dinger does exactly that on the opposing side. Mickey, who's been found a few times in some of these fights, is going to be the one to fall first again, and Jalen gets away on about 2 HP back into the bubble, survives to live another day, but you really need to start getting moving here, as this first objective is difficult to take, but second and third, especially third, really not easy either.
Yeah, as we were saying, on the attack, the Orisa is slow and painful, but once it gets going, it's going. This Winston comp, if you don't find something straight away, you'll just fall to the Orisa comp, and we're not seeing those picks until now.
Yeah, they were able to force a lot of cooldowns with that Tidal Blast. Yes, it didn't knock down the Orisa, but it forced a Fortify, and that means that it's not there for this defense now. The Orisa's gone down, so Soapy Noodles, and this looks like it's the timing that was needed for the defenders, and it needed to be now. They needed to do it off the back of that pick, because look at the ultimates that both teams have. It was getting really shaky there for the defenders, but they've got 4 ults now in the back pocket. Primal's there for Jalen if it's needed, but you're just going to be forcing Dinger away, and in the end, Dinger falls, and it could be a really big stagger here onto Omnom.
Yeah, that's a huge stagger. Doesn't catch the wave with Reaper and Baptiste. That buys you through that first gate, which a lot of people make the argument is probably the scariest part of Arkham.
Yeah, absolutely. 4 ults still on the board for both sides. Only the main support not having theirs in the back pocket. Jalen going down low, but a Beak does drop that big Death Blossom, able to find one, and Lorelei is able to play cleanup duty as well, taking a couple more through the use of the left clicks. It's going to be the defenders rolling on forwards, and they're really looking to snowball here.
Yeah, it's another one of those cases where Beak has won the fight with just his ult, which you love as the Durham defenders. It buys you so much more time and space, and so much to counter the fact Thunderdome have 4 ults.
Here comes the Orbital Ray as well. You can see that the Thunderdome are just pinned in here. They can't get out of this line from spawn, and once again they lose that first pick to a Beak. Dinger now not there, and now the aggression comes back in from the Reaper and the Winston. Jalen's got space to play with as well, got HP to play with, because you've got the Primal here. Here comes that amplification matrix that we saw so often on the defensive, on the attacking side for the Thunderdome, and with the use of the overclock from Atil as well, it is going to do too much damage. Omnom claiming up towards the end, and finally for the Thunderdome, they get a foothold on this defensive side, but it needed 3 ults to be done.
Yeah, that's a huge investment, and I don't think they win that fight without it. So they kind of were forced in a position where they had to use everything. A window and an overclock, of course, I think it's a one-shot body shot, especially with that perk. So it meant that it was like a very safe choice, especially with the grouping from the Orisa ult.
Jalen back on the objective now without the Primal, but Dinger's going to use the only ult on the board to good effect. Finds 2, and a Beak is traded out as well. Omnom coming in to clean things up, and now Jalen just stuck on the objective, wondering where the rest of the team's gone. Well, he's going to join them in just a second in the spawn.
Yeah, we're just seeing so much value from these Reaper ults. Neither team really have a 100% direct answer to it. You have a lamp that might be broken. You kind of have a spear, but I feel like the positions these fights are taking place in, they're orchestrating them really well, just so that you can get the most value you possibly can out of either team's Reaper ults.
They've already built back to a Terror Surge and almost an Amplification Matrix again here. Dinger and a Beak trading those first picks of the fight, and Lorelei's able to take down Dinger as well, so this could be the time that the defenders need to get through this choke point. A Beak holding on to this Death Blossom, making sure that there's not going to be a touch here. They're just about able to get on, and with this Amplification Matrix, it could go big, but you're able to take down Frostbite, Soapy Noodles as well. Lorelei takes down Dinger once again. Atil falls down to the Death Blossom, which really Doesn't feel like it was needed, but at the end of the day, they do find this second objective. They got 2 minutes on the clock to try and get there just a little bit quicker than the Thunderdome were able to on their attack.
Yeah, a big part of that attack from the defenders was that the threat of the Death Blossom was scarier than the Blossom itself. So it bought so much space, just sitting in Wraith, expecting, well, the unexpected, and it meant that it could be saved for that last fight. You could really take your time, and that's probably a big part of the reason they won that fight so convincingly.
Lamp forced early here, and that means that Omnom does go down. Now you've got the Primal to get onto Frostbite as well. It looks like this defender's side have really woken up now, trying to get more kills off the back of it. Atil does fall, and Soapy Noodles falls with the last swing of the Primal. Now it's all up to Dinger to try and hold on here for the moment, but it's not going to be the case. 1 minute 30 on the clock, and someone's contributing here as Omnom just about staying alive on the objective, but there's no one else to help out. And now it's all up to Atil. Finds one, but that's all you're going to be able to get. It's a mad dash out of the spawn for the Thunderdome, and now Ding is back to contest, but at the end of the day, it's only stalling for so long, and the defenders are able to take a bigger time bank going into this third and fourth push to try and take the first map in this Durham derby.
I think at that half, there must have been a conversation between the defenders, but they really did a good job of analysing what they needed to do, what their win con was. And it was this Baptiste was doing, I mean, he's still done a ridiculous amount of healing, but it's less. And that small amount has made a big difference. It's understanding for the Winston that they need to shut them down. And I think the Reaper pick has got a lot more than the Echo pick, just because the pressure that Reaper can put on Orisa.
Yeah, and you look at Lorelei really waking up a little bit more, as well as Abik looking potentially a bit stronger on that Reaper. And it looks like there's going to be a question here again of what Abik decides to do on the defensive side. It is going to be the defenders once again taking their namesake first. It is going to be the Reaper back here, but look at Dinger on that Pharah. Could play havoc here if Lorelei can't keep him in check.
Yeah, this Pharah could get a lot of value. The Wu Yang, the Juno, can't really have a say in what the Pharah can do. She's just too far away, and Sojourn, it's waiting for a moment of brilliance from Lorelei. So I think the Pharah is a really good pick here.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking to rain down on the skies at the moment. Having to back down for now. It's only 45 seconds left on the clock, and this is a difficult point to break down. Lorelei going down low, though, is going to force the wave from Blink. That means it's not going to be there for the rest of the fight. Dinger down so low, just a pixel of HP. Eventually, Jalen is going to find that kill, so you're going to have to wait for your Pharah to come back. Maybe just kite here and make sure that you're not going to get stuck completely. But Atil's going down low as well. Omnom's trying to hold the fort, say, look at me. But now that forces the lamp out, and Frostbite's not going to have that for the remainder of this time bank. It's now going to be a forced overtime fight to try and get here onto the objective, and Dinger down low once again. The sniper monkey of Jalen forcing pressure onto the skies. Mickey's able to take one onto Soapy Noodles, and who's got the touch here now? It's Omnom as the only one standing, but nothing doing here. Abik shuts it down with 3 quick kills. It is the Juno to finish it off. A team kill rings out, and it's going to be no percentage gained for the Thunderdome, so the defenders got 1 minute and 50 seconds to at least get that first ticket.
It's drawable. This is a drawable game. Definitely
Absolutely.
drawable. I think, yeah, the Reaper pick is just finding so much more. It's a way of being able to go toe-to-toe with the Orisa and hold your own while still being able to put on that backline pressure. I think they've understood that you can almost just walk past this Orisa. You can just kind of walk around it, and you're getting just as much value, and you're kind of able to disassociate from that part and kind of shut the comp down before it gets going.
So Frostbite switching over to the Ana here for the defense, and I mean, it's high risk, high reward, right? With the Winston on the other side.
Yeah, I mean, maybe not a Winston right now, but I do understand maybe you're wanting to play a bit more conservative. You realize one fight and it's over. So fast nano, maybe I would understand maybe playing on that kind of back high ground behind point, and kind of keeping a really safe distance, but they're not even doing that. So I'm not quite sure what they're hoping to achieve from the Ana here that you wouldn't get more out of Baptiste.
Yeah, especially with how well it feels like Frostbite's been playing on that Baptiste. Here we go then, 1 minute 50 to take this first map, take just one tick on that first objective for the defenders, and that's not a great start. Dinger taking down a beak early, but he's forced to wraith out here. Jalen does go down, and that looks like it's the first foray onto the objective. Really stopped in its tracks.
And that's effectively like they have the same time bank. They're all barely close to ults, and what? There's just half a minute gone. So you really like that as Thunderdome.
Yeah, absolutely. Lorelei trying to peek the angle does get antied, but he's going to stay alive for the moment. Looking for an angle here is Dinger. Finds Blink, but does go down low. And Lorelei has been able to take down a teal. And so low as well is Frostbite. 3 quick kills from Lorelei and Jalen. A 4th as well. Lorelei with 3 on this fight. It's only going to be Omnom. And there's not much that you can do as an Orisa in that situation, especially when you sacrifice the spear spin. The mobility is all gone, and the defenders do take that first map of the series, going up 1-0 in this derby. But it's not as if they had it all their own way. The Thunderdome really putting them to task and making sure that they earned that final choke point in their defensive side. And it felt like the time bank from the first fight might have been able to spare the blushes of the Thunderdome, but not quite, as Lorelei really seemed to awaken in that fight, taking down 3 in quick succession.
Yeah, it seemed like from the Winston dive, they kind of got separated. It did split the team in half, and it meant the Orisa, which was, I think, doing the main job of kind of shutting down that Sojourn, not giving it enough space, using that spin to close down onto the Sojourn, was nowhere to be seen. Especially because they chose the shield perk, which you see, of course, a lot of people do, but there's a lot of space you now can't take because you lose the movement speed and the projectile block through spin, which in organized compositions like this, you'll probably see block more damage in its usage than a standard shield like she was in Overwatch 1.
Yeah, and there's been a lot of talk around Orisa and especially her major perks as to really the correct choice might be to not take one at all. I know there's a flashing button in the bottom left of your screen and you really want to press it, but the spear charge, if you're wasting that immediately, it actually does less damage than being able to use the spear usually. So you've got to be able to charge it in the first place. It's probably the better out of the two in terms of high level, consistent, commed play. But I mean, taking that shield perk there is the reason that you don't get back. Obviously, it doesn't mean too much in the end, but it means that you don't take the space as effectively as the Orisa. It's a lot more difficult to get that mobility going when a Winston can jump right past you onto the rest of your team. All you can really do is try and hold the fort down and make sure the rest of the team can't join the Winston for as long as possible. But with the movement of the Sojourn and the Reaper as well being able to TP past, it's just a bit too much to deal with. That being said, the Thunderdome do have their choice of map coming up, and I wouldn't be too surprised to see at least one control point being taken here. I feel like with the way that they were playing, those enclosed spaces might be difficult for the defenders to deal with in terms of that composition with the Orisa, with that Baptiste, and Lijiang Tower is going to be the pick. Obviously, Kiriko back on the cards, but that doesn't necessarily mean you have to go away from the Baptiste, who was absolutely pumping out both damage and healing in that composition. So we'll see if that's something that they want to go over to again on Lijiang Tower.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, I was shocked we got a hybrid map that wasn't King's Row. I was kind of hoping we would get a control map that wasn't Lijiang. Part of me thought, I thought Antarctic would have been a really good pick for this Orisa comp, just because they want to play so enclosed. But I think Kiriko being open gives so much opportunity. I think Tracer being open also gives the defenders a lot of opportunity, and especially Li Jiang. I think Tracer is such a strong pick on this map. So I think you could be quite scared of what the DPS will throw at you from the defenders as the Thunderdome. But
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely.
Oh, no, sorry.
No, you're all good.
I've cut you off. I completely forgot what I was going to say as well.
Oh, really?
There was something about Kiriko, and yeah, I wonder if Kiriko would have made the difference in that last map, though. Maybe it's a lot more of a comfort pick. I know we saw the Baptiste and the Mizuki. I almost called him Shion. But yeah, I wonder if maybe you would run Baptiste Kiriko, and actually that double flex support comp was what you would want to run as a Thunderdome, because that means Orisa lives even longer. And after seeing a few of those sanctuaries, might be a bit harsh, but that might have not been that hinted at the fact it might not be a comfort pick. Because
yeah, absolutely.
yeah, it bought a bit of time. It kind of slowed the pace of the game down. It let the team reset, but you didn't see it kind of counteracting an ult. You didn't see it eating the Sojourn ults. You didn't see it kind of letting the team play around a Reaper ult. It was kind of just to slow the pace of the game down, which of course is equally as effective. But yeah, well, we're seeing the bans
Speaking of
now.
those Mitsuki and Reaper ults, we're not going to see them in this map. Mitsuki
I feel
and
like
Reaper
I'm cursing
are
this.
gonna
I
be
talked
the
about
ones
characters they're
taken off.
banned. I talked about ults and they were like thrown out the window the moment I mentioned them. Maybe I just need to be quiet for a bit.
Well, we'll
But
see
no,
about that. The sanctuaries were leaving a bit lacking, but at the end of the day, it didn't feel like that was the one thing that saw them losing that
not in
map.
the
And it was
slightest.
very competitive. It was a lot between the two of them. But yeah, with the Reaper taken away as well, that's something that was mirrored on both sides, but it did feel like there was a lot of pressure coming from the defender's side Reaper.
Yeah, there was a lot more. I feel like Abik was just having that extra impact outside of results that really pushed them ahead. But I think the big thing in both these ults, these are circle ults. These are you can't stand here. And on a map like Lijiang, a control map, it's quite different to, I would say, Escort, where you aren't necessarily fighting on the cart every time. There isn't a point that you have to win. I know you've got to push the cart, but you can fight offside and then go to it. You miss out hugely if you do not take that fight on that point on control. So I feel like being able to take that sanctuary away, and the blossom away, both of them really, really changes the dynamic of how these fights on the point are going to go and who they might lean in favor of.
Yeah, that space is going to be a little bit more difficult to take. Looks like, I believe that is an Orisa in the back there through the wall, but I could be wrong. Yep, it's going to stay there, and I mean, it's going to be a lot of pressure onto Jalen to try and make this Doomfist work into the Orisa. I feel like that's going to be a difficult task.
That is a tall order. That is... Oh, we're seeing Winston. That... I mean, I still believe Winston's a tall order as well, but I feel like it's less throwing yourself at a brick wall and just like a plywood wall. Still hard, but you might make your way through.
Well, it is going to be the Kiriko here for Frostbite, and Soapy Noodles is going to switch onto the Lucio. Of course, Lucio's playground, this and Ilios, but Lijiang Tower starting off here. Just a lot of pressure as Dinger's going to be forced to recall initially. Soapy Noodles going down low. Actually, a beat getting the 2-clip onto the Lucio as the rest of the team now falls under pressure. Omnom fighting into the opposing spawn, trying to take the kill onto Blink, eventually does, but the rest of the team is falling around the Orisa, and no matter how long that Orisa lives, if the rest of the team does fall around you, it's not going to be able to do all that much.
Yeah, and instantly you're seeing why Tracer was banned for that first map, because Abik just disassembled the Thunderdome team there. Just player by player by player, they just fell apart through countless 1-2 clips.
I think I found there by that water orb early as well from Blink, just scouting out and losing charge there as Lorelei, but there's a little bit of pressure onto the objective as Omnom's decided to mirror this Winston. Pulse Bomb goes wide from a beak, but after the utter dismantling that you were able to see on that first fight, it doesn't feel like it's all that bad, especially as Lorelei has taken down their opposing number in a teal. And now, once again, Omnom's going to be forced back. Soapy Noodles falls, both of the supports fall, and once again, this should be a clean fight win for the defenders. Yes, you do lose Mickey Joe, but that Juno should be able to get back quickly, and especially if you're able to take down Dinger, which you are, is even more stagger onto the Tracer.
Of course, Tracer, well, she's caught the wave with Winston, and a Tracer's never going to take 3 years to get back to point. But yeah, I think as long as Thunderdome can force these fights on point, they're going to get a lot more out of it. And I think these fights, the big thing is about how much space Blink is buying on the Wu Yang.
Yeah, absolutely. Abik's going to have a second chance at Pulse Bomb here, going in, going to be saved by the Suzu. Is a teal and a stick on the other side onto Lorelei. That's a good start here for the Thunderdome, who've invested their Kitsune Rush as well into this fight. Blink should be going down here, but able to catch the wave himself and make sure that you do survive for the moment. Omnom's going to take down that final blow though, and it's now all on to Jalen to get something with this Primal. Able to find the first, but it's going to be matched in kind by the damage. It's just too consistent and eventually will fall over. Now Mickey just trying to get away on that Juno. Able to be saved actually by Lorelei coming back from the spawn, but Frostbite's able to get the final kill. And now once again, the Thunderdome able to wrestle back control, at least just for now.
Yeah, it seems these points are working their best when Blink is able to zone off Dinger with his orbs. But the fight's already starting, they're not waiting around.
Yeah, absolutely. Tidal Surge to engage initially, but it's not going to do too much, and Lorelei's going to be found on the other side. Be invested by Soapy Noodles as well, but it doesn't really stop too much on the other side, as there's not really too many people to do as much damage. It's a 3v5 now, to make that 2 as Omnom finds the kill as well, and it looks like this composition feels a little bit more comfortable with the Winston instead of the Orisa.
Yeah, it's begging the question of why did we run Orisa point 1 or map 1? I think that the only answer could be a Kiri ban, but this Kiri from Frostbite is looking even stronger than the Baptiste somehow.
Absolutely. Now looking for a way in again is Abik, who's going to have a third chance on the Pulse Bomb, but Dinger doesn't need it, as it's 2 for 2 now from the Tracer of the Thunderdome, and now you've kind of got to get back pretty quickly. This is getting closer and closer to final fight territory now for the defenders, who started off so well, but they're seeing it tick down in front of their eyes. Dinger's going to be taken down, and the beat's going to build up to a Pulse Bomb, but they're looking to engage early, even without their tank. Touch is going to be there from Abik, and now here comes the Juno Ray, looking for the kill onto A-Teal, and Jalen's found Soapy Noodles as well, so as much as the Thunderdome have been able to hold on here, it feels like it's a bit of a false comeback as it flips back to the way of the defenders, and Dinger has to stay alive.
Yeah, we need a touch here, but that's going to be a big ask.
They're able to get it. Omnom's able to get onto the objective. Soapy Noodles tried for it as well and does fall in the process. Can you build up to this Primal? It could be devastating if you're able to get it, but it's 98% before the Winston falls. Just too little, too late for the Thunderdome. They make it back. They make it a contest, but at the end of the day, they don't make it all the way. Is this first objective of Night Market falls to the defenders, who now find themselves on map point for this one and series point overall in the Durham Derby.
Yeah, well, there's a few things to take away from that. That was, of course, once again, so close. But I think Thunderdome, that final fight before they kind of lost the point, I feel like if they just took their time, or a bit slow, they forced some ults. I felt like they could have fighted, maybe taken time a bit, and when they go in, that becomes last fight territory. It's forcing a touch. They saw those kills, that they saw a wave of half HP people in front of their spawn and chased that, and Dinger getting picked there just kind of meant they couldn't hold that ground anymore, and they kind of just collapsed from everyone walking out of spawn. So I'm hoping if they play that patience, even though they're on that dive, take their time a bit, they might be able to hold, keep the point in their name.
Not too much patience there from Omnom, but is going to be surviving with the help of the Suzu from Frostbite. Pressure put onto the backline, but no kills found, and eventually it is gonna pay dividends that they were able to get so much damage onto the Winston. Lorelei does go down low, and Ding is able to find a third on this fight as well, and they're turning it around even without the tank. Somehow the Thunderdome are bringing the chaos with Frostbite and Dinger finding the kills needed to make sure the objective doesn't fall too far into enemy hands. Yes, you get about 15%, but that's all you're going to get as the defenders, as it is going to be Jalen forced to step back.
Yeah, we're really seeing some really inspiring Chaser gameplay today. They're really opening up these backlines and buying their team so much space, and kind of individual performances turning the tides of these fights.
All down a little bit low once again, just has to wait for that armor to be healed back up. But look at Frostbite almost at that Kitsune rush when there's not really anything there on the other side, and immediately Mickey gets picked before being able to get back out on that Juno. Yes, you're trying to charge in here, but leading the charge is Frostbite, who's played so well so far. The rest of the team slowly falling down, and Abit can only watch as it is going to be Jalen going and eventually going to be taken down himself.
I mean, both ults-wise and position on the map-wise, I think it's going to be really hard for defenders to crack this open without a pretty huge investment, especially when you've got Juno Brig over Kiri Lucio. I think it's going to be really hard.
Yeah, and immediately find 2 quick kills. A Beacon Blink already off the face of the map. Lorelei taken down as well, and it should be another quick team fight here for the Thunderdome. So defenders are building up to ults, but once again, the positioning is just going to be easier for the Thunderdome to hold.
I mean, one minor difference I've noticed is, once again, in the perks chosen, defenders have chosen on the Winston that kind of chain right-click versus the heal bubble, and it just means in that slightly extended fight, the Thunderdome should be able to hold their space for longer.
Both support ults invested here for the Thunderdome, but they don't need them after this fight. If they can clear it out, it should be all theirs, and they found 2 quick kills off the back of them. Here comes the Primal from Jalen, trying to make sure that the objective is going to stay alive. The overtime wick starts to burn, and how much can he really do with 1 Primal? They've been able to extend the objective, but a beak's gone down. Hold that to the wall, but Teal taking over. 2 quick kills with the overclock, and now you're just looking to burn down this Winston to take it to control center. A lot cleaner from the Thunderdome, and really it feels like the ball is in their court, and they have found the momentum that they need to get back into this series.
Yeah, it seems that in these extended fights, this Kiri Lucio are able to hold the space for a lot longer than the Juno Brig, which you wouldn't really expect, considering Brig is so good at kind of locking down areas and holding that space. But then on the other hand, it's these Suzus, these TPs, the speed boost is meaning they're able to take these engages first, and they're faster to these fights, and it means they're catching people with their pants down.
Yeah, absolutely, and look at the play from Dinger, 29 and 6 on that Tracer. It feels like Ding is really putting so much pressure onto them, and you can see from the switch up in the compositions, Lorelei switching over to that Cass. Yes, it's a bit more of an enclosed space, but that will also try and help deal with the oppression that Ding has been able to put onto the defenders so far. Now looking to gain some space as Teal goes down really low, but great job by Frostbite to keep Teal alive, and it pays off. Lorelei falling, and a second falls quickly afterwards. Mickey taken down. Yes, you've dealt with Dinger, but there's more threats on the table than just the Tracer. Blink's not able to get a fadeaway either. Yes, you take down the Winston, but the Winston's taken you down. It is going to be Thunderdome taking control of the objective first once again.
Now, that fight was well played by Thunderdome, and you saw them kind of slowly disassemble the defenders, catch people lacking. A huge pick by Teal. But look at the ult charge on the Bastion. We're ready for a nuclear strike coming in. This is just so much damage. I really hope the Thunderdome are able to compensate for that.
The problem is the artillery should be fairly easy for this team to maneuver themselves around. Here comes the strikes, and yeah, it doesn't find a kill off the back of it, but it does mean Atil is out of position and then capitalizes upon it himself, finds a second as well. Soapy Noodles falls. Next to go Om, and really it is a blue wave in the kill feed as finally Dinger does go down as well. Atil looking to get back, but maybe thinking better of it, just trying to hold the space as much as possible is the Sojourn as it flips over to Durham.
Yeah, the value in this Bastion ult here is the space it buys. It's the target it isolates. That means the Winston can just collapse on it.
A lot of damage coming in once again, but the Kitsune Rush is there for the Thunderdome. And the Pulse Bomb onto a Beak is everything, taking down that Bastion that's done so much damage so far. And now you've got free reign if you're Dinger. You've lost the mech, but the rest of the team has lost their lives. Eventually, you do only lose the Baby Diva, who should be back fairly quickly. Jalen trying to get a complimentary pick to make sure this next fight could be a little bit easier. But you've got to survive on the Winston to be able to do that. And you are being hounded down by the DPS. And it is going to be Frostbite who finally gets the kill. But the rest of the team here having to take the fight without the tank. And it's going to be really, really difficult. A Beak goes down on that...
Symmetra. A quick Symmetra swap. Very different angle, especially with a Winston. Wouldn't necessarily see a Winston sim comp, but she can really hold down this point. But yeah, that stagger on the Winston is criminal. I wouldn't say criminal, that's harsh. It's an excellent binding by Thunderdome. They've really understood what's working in their advantage and that they're able to push that. But it really hurts if you're the defenders.
Here comes the Ray Rally push, and it's done everything it needed to do. Immediate collapse for the Thunderdome, not able to do anything in this fight. Yes, the Trace is going to recall, but really, Dinger, you can't do all that much. Team kill goes off, and the Thunderdome forced back to the spawn.
Yeah, I mean, shame from them. They've ended the fight too quickly for us to say much about it. But no, the only thing I would say is you're now only got a Simmel. You might have wanted to keep your rally ready for this quite heavy invested ult from Thunderdome.
Yeah, here we go. Here comes the overclock, but no targets in sight because of that Simmel. You force that D-Mech as well, forced to use the bottom, and you've been able to get the kills off the back of it. Omnom's been able to remech, but now it gets above 80%. Really, you just have to get back quickly. This Kitsune Rush could be everything, but Omnom needs to keep mech here, needs to stay in suit. Blink's gone off the map to Soapy Noodles, and Dinger is in the backline. Let's get the touch here, Dinger, but not able to survive for too long. Frostbite investing that Kitsune Rush, able to get one, but the rest of the team is starting to fall down. Omnom's down so low, but getting good care. Frostbite falls though, and now the mech is gone. It felt like it was such a good momentum flip back to the side of the Thunderdome, but in the end, the defenders are able to defend their crown of Durham and hold on to take the series 2-0.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest. I was really expecting a third map from that. That was really close. It was competitive the whole time. I think that Symmetra swap almost kind of flipped a switch. I felt that the value you got out of running a Juno Brig multiplied tenfold by having a character like Sim who can cover that gap that they struggle to travel. And but kind of stay in that kind of death ball that you get from the Juno Brig, stay alive and keep a lot of value in that. And especially with the wall kind of acting almost as in a sanctuary that doesn't heal you and goes the whole map. That wall takes so much space. It really gave them so much control over that K-Rush fight that did decide how that map went.
Absolutely. Well, we took a quick look at the series as it played out, and two close maps between two teams from Durham. The defenders just about able to get it done, and they will be taking the win in our first match here on USS 2, but make sure you don't go too far as we are going to be bringing you a second series later today. We're going to go to a quick break while our second set of games is finalized, but once we know what we are covering as our second match of the day, we will be right back with you, bringing you that game. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.